everyone, it's Desiree, and I'm here for Spellbinders with some wonderful news. What is really great is Fun Stampers Journey and Spellbinders are now coming together, and that is happening today. So make sure you check out the video description below for all the details, and make sure you go to my blog because there's going to be even more details there. But what is great that they are going to offer over 50 exclusive colors. That means cardstock, ink, ribbon, and accessories, along with stamps and dies. So speaking of stamps, you can see the two sets here that I'm playing with. First one's called Christmas Magic, and the other one is Santa Approved. One of the things that I liked about these sets is that card that the stamps I've put on, and I'm fighting with the little tiny container there, is plastic. So if they are rubber stamps, so they will adhere to that. I do like to keep the plastic coating that comes also with it. One, makes it easier to get it back into the package if that is how you store your stamps, and I do try to keep the original packaging, so you saw how quick that went, and plus you can see what the stamp looked like. Even though you have the picture in the front, you still have the side of the stamp because the image is on the stamp itself. Okay, so let's get started and let's create the most adorable card. I have to admit, I like this card. Yay! So I used one of my Spellbinders label dies. It's number 56. It's one of their nestabilities. And I cut out my image, and I'm using Nina Desert Storm. And then I grabbed one of their frame, and these are pin tucked. And what I really like about these, the nested frame dies, is the most outer one is a solid cut. Then you have this inner one that creates the holes. Then the next one in is a solid cut. Next one in has just the holes. So they're very versatile. So you can get these panels with or without the pin tuck holes. Or you can just have any type of panel where you would want to have the pin tuck holes. So I thought that was really cool. This first stamp set I'm going to use is the Christmas Magic, and I just fell in love. Look at the shoes and the hat. And of course, I love the sentiment, believe in the magic of Christmas. So I pulled out my stamp positioner, and I'm setting the label die in the center of that because that's where my sentiment is going to go, and it's going to go on that die cut that I used. So I want to make sure that that's positioned where it needs to go. I will be putting pencil marks on my design base so I know where that label, that die cut's going to go again. And then I'm positioning the hat and the feet just below that. So it's almost like the body of this little guy's being hidden by the sentiment because that's how big it needs to be. We need to believe in the magic of Christmas, but we also need to just believe. So it's one of my favorite things that I do like to say. So now that I have all of my stamps positioned, I'm going to just ink the hat and the feet. So I'm going to use a piece of scrap cardstock here because, again, I don't want to get ink on my sentiment as best as I can. Because that, again, is going to go on that die cut. So I am using my VersaFine Black, and I'm just making sure that's inked up well, making sure I have a good impression. And then even though I'm not going to, I covered up the sentiment, I'm going to put the die cut in place and use my magnets to hold that in place. I'm okay with the other three images being on there because it's all the same spot. I haven't moved the design panel where I stamped the feet and the hat. So I'm going to stamp right down onto that, and I'm going to stamp this a couple times because I want a nice crisp impression, because I'm also going to use my clear embossing powder over my sentiment. I want that to have a little bit of shine. So I'm going to use my clear, and I'm just going to cover that up and heat set that. Once that's all heat set, I am going to set that aside because we are going to do some pencil coloring. Now these are my Faber-Castell Polychromos, and if you've watched some other videos or my previous videos that I have, you will hear many times that colored pencils are just, they're my medium of choice when it comes to coloring. And I kind of, it all depends on what I'm coloring, but I kind of color the same way that we would with our alcohol markers. Sometimes I'll put the solid, you know, the light color down first, then go in with my dark, or sometimes I'll go in with my dark first and then go over with my light. And you're actually going to see both ways, because I did leave the coloring in. I did speed this up a little bit more, but I did want you to see that coloring and how the two different ways that you can. So for the hat, I'm starting out with my darker color, and I'm just putting that in where my shades would go. I am using 3 different shades, so now I'm coming in with the second shade, and I'm making sure I go over the dark. And now I'm coming in with my lightest, and then I just work back out to my dark. So it's like dark, medium, light, light, medium, dark. It's almost like steps, and I'm actually doing that you all can't see me do that. So that helps to blend the colored pencil. When you go over with other colors, you can see I'm taking that light color and going over everything. That will actually help blend. Have I used Gamsol? Have I used the baby oil? Yes, I have. It's not my go-to way of blending, though. If I do choose between the two, I do choose the baby oil. One, I would rather have that scent than, even though the Gamsol's odorless, it's odorless. I don't know what it's doing. So I'm very leery when it comes to that. So I will reach for my baby oil, actually. But my first choice for blending is the colored pencils themselves, or the blender pencil by Prismacolor. That is my favorite blender pencil out of them all. So you saw with the hat, I started with my lightest, I then went in with the darker one, and then I came in with my medium. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing through this. So now we're working on the feet. So just like the hat, the red part is the cuff that's coming up. I'm going to do that with the slippers as well. So again, I put down my light color first, and now I'm coming in with my darkest, and then I'm going to go over with my medium tone. Now, when I first started coloring these, you know, your colored pencils, because of course, since it is my medium of choice, I must have them all. I must have all colors. I have many, I'm going to say that again, many sets of colored pencils, whether they're watercolor or whether they're just regular colored pencils, whether they're wax or whether they're oil. And I have them from Crayola all the way up to the Prismacolors or the Faber-Castells and everything in between. There are others that I'm still going to get. So my collection's going to grow. But I do really enjoy them. So you can see with the slippers, back to our coloring here real quick, I started with my light and now I'm just coming in with my shades, and I'm actually following the stamp. The stamp actually has areas that shows where shades would go. I don't ever worry about a light source. I know that's probably wrong, but again, that's what works for me. That's what makes me comfortable. I don't, and believe me, I was there. I used to stress. Oh my God, I got to do this. Oh my God. You know what? I let it go. Let it go. I sing it a lot. And it's tough. It really is. But you will find your comfort zone. You will get comfortable with what you do. Here's my word, you know, believe that yes, you can do this. It's not going to look the same. And that's what's perfect about this. That's what makes this craft wonderful. Each person makes something unique. So don't give up on it. Stay with it. And if you have any questions, leave those down below. I'll get back to you. But when I started on my coloring, back to what I was originally saying, In a lot of these larger sets, you will get metallics, and the polychromos you get a gold, a copper, and a silver. So I did use the gold for the bells. It'll change. It wasn't enough gold for me. Okay. So now that I have my coloring done, I'm going to prop up my sentiment after I put my design base down on my standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and this is a top folding. I'm going to use my double-sided foam behind that die cut, and I'm going to put that right where it needs to go. I'm going to come in with my white eraser to remove the pencil lines. I do like to use a white eraser. It's less harsh on any cardstock when I erase my pencil. So just a little FYI. I grabbed my white jelly pen, and I'm just going to put some highlights. Now I'm having some problems there, so I just need to get it started there. And I just do that by putting it on my finger. I gave up on it and I pulled out another one. I got tons of spares. So I'm going over the area of areas that I colored and just putting some white highlights, you know, just to brighten her up a little bit. And I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, you know what? I like to doodle. I'm a doodler. Wow, am I a doodler? Even while when I do my voiceover, I'm actually doodling. I'm just scribbling and coming up with other ideas and stuff like that. So I used my white gel pen just to create dots, make it look like it's snowing on the sentiment, but only that. So I made big dots, little dots, and medium-sized dots, and I just put them throughout. These are some of the embellishments. I fell in love with these candy cane buttons. I thought they were absolutely cute, so I'm going to use some glue dots, put them behind the buttons, and I'm going to put them on each of the corners of my design. I thought it just really accented the design panel itself. So I thought that was really, really cute. I'm loving this card. I think this one's a keeper. I got to keep it. So of course I didn't have enough gold for my bells. So I pulled in my Nuvo drops, and this is of course my gold. And I'm just going over where the bells are. Even though I put my colored pencil there, that's okay. I can go right over with my enamel dots. And then I've got my big bell off of the hat, and I just filled that in. So it just gave it just a little bit of shimmer. Not too much. Didn't want glitter. I gently, it just looks fast. The card was not hurt at all. But I do like to tap my cards down just to level out my drops. So now I'm going to make an envelope. So how do I do this? I do have a video where I showed this because Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, taught me this. Thank you. I measure my card from corner to corner. It measured 7 inches. I add an inch. So this piece of paper is 8 by 8. I set my card in the center. I am not worried if it's exactly in the center. I gently fold up my cardstock around it. And now I'm going to make sure the 2 side points match. I'm going to fold up the bottom, and then I will fold down the top. Once I have that done, I just like to set my card on top. I like to have a lot of room for my cards. Sometimes I think the envelopes are really too tight. I like dimension on my cards, so I need room. So I usually don't use my paper creaser for these edges, but this cardstock that I'm using is pretty thick. So I just wanted to make sure that I did have some good crease points. So I did use that, and then I cut out the corners, those little triangles where they crossed over in the fold. I marked when the bottom flap was up with some pencil just underneath, so I knew where to put my double-sided strong adhesive tape. And this is actually the tape left over the Spellbinders kits. You get tons of it, and it is strong. So yeah, it's a keeper. I'm going to pull off the release paper, and I'm going to fold up the bottom tab of the envelope. Now you can trim off that point if you want. I chose not to. So the next stamp set, because I just thought these are absolutely perfect for Christmas card envelopes or any holiday here. So these are called Santa approved. So I'm just placing my stamps around where I want to put them for my envelope. So of course I had to have elf inspected, Santa approved, and then I put the North Pole Post Office on the flap up there. And I'm using my craft ink by Gina K just to stamp those images in the areas. And I'm going to make sure that I keep enough room so that I can write the recipient's name and address, and then of course my return address. But I thought this stamp was perfect that said recipient, because then I can check if they were naughty or nice. And again, I love that it said for elf use only. I just love these. These are just perfect. Absolutely perfect. And they'll be great for the tags when I make my tags. And I did still want to add the one that does look like a postmark. So I put that up into the right hand corner. Now you don't have to. I can still put a stamp over this and still mail it. It's only a stamp. So it's okay. You know, just know that your envelope might be a little bit bigger, so more postage may be involved. You always want to make sure that you check that depending upon what you're adding. But I do hope you enjoyed this project. I really did. I had a ball with it. It just made me smile all day. But I think it is wonderful that Fun Stampers Journey and Spellbinders are coming together. Again, that's happening today. Make sure you go to my blog. Make sure you go to their blog. There's going to be other designers and other inspiration available for all of this. We're going to have some more information out there as well. All the products that I used, as usual, will be linked down below. So if you want to check them out and see all the many other wonderful products that they have. Remember, they do have dies as well, and there are dies that match the stamp sets that I used today. If you have any questions, leave those down below, and I'll make sure that I get back to you as soon as I can. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so that you can see many more designs coming out. I hope everyone's having a great day, but always remember what's most important. Always be creative.